Yo, what's up? Welcome to Swish This, your weekly update on basketball's biggest stories. I'm Syed Hussein.
And I'm Kristine Hadid. And this is your first podcast, Syed.
Yeah.
How does that feel? You've always been, I would say out of everyone I know, even all the guys, and guys tend to be in sports a lot more, you are probably the biggest basketball aficionado that I know.
Oh, thanks.
So this is going to be fun. I am not the biggest basketball aficionado. I am kind of clueless when it comes to sports, so you've taught me quite a bit. But even for people who I guess aren't too familiar with basketball, now's kind of a cool time to be getting involved. I know over the weekend the internet was just popping with this news about LeBron going back home.
Yeah, LeBron James just went back to Cleveland. And that's kind of cool. And the Eastern Conference just got really interesting. We had a great draft this year, one of the best since 2003, and I don't think there's going to be another one as good as this one anytime soon. And we had a great free agency market this year, so things just got really interesting in the NBA.
So in general, there's like a lot of stuff going on in basketball. It sounds like an exciting time, but this news about LeBron going back to Cleveland, everyone's talking about it. People who like LeBron, who don't like LeBron, people who are into basketball, people who aren't as much. Everyone knows about it. I understand a little bit of why it's such a big story, but I don't know if I grasp as much as maybe you would.
Well,
what is the significance, like the deeper significance? Okay, he's leaving one team to go to another. That happens all the time.
Yeah, it's like the return of the prodigal son. LeBron James was like the golden child of the NBA since before he even got there. His name is King James for a reason. And now the prodigal son has returned to the land to achieve a championship. It's storybook stuff. It doesn't get better than this. Will he be able to take his hometown team and turn them into a championship roster and win a championship? I don't know.
I mean, it seems pretty obvious, so he's done that before, right?
Yeah, but he hasn't had the big three. And the reason why he went to Miami is because he was fed up in Cleveland. The organization wouldn't put the pieces around him. They weren't willing to spend the money. So he went to a team with his friends, basically, who had the experience, who were proven stars and were willing to take less money in order to win these championships. And what he did is kind of like going to college. It's like he went to college, he got this experience, he went to Miami, got this experience, and now he's gone back home, and hopefully he can use what he's learned in Miami from that organization and from the other players to help build Kyrie Irving and hopefully Andrew Wiggins. Maybe they'll even get another piece and turn those guys into a championship team.
So do you think this was part of his plan all along? Did you think he had that ultimate goal in mind to come back home after he got enough experience?
That's tough to say. If that were true, he would just seem like such a genius to have thought ahead, like 5 years ahead. Like, who thinks like that? Who thinks 5 years ahead like that? It's kind of crazy. He says that I've always wanted to come back to Cleveland, but I don't think so. I think he was just going to Miami to go to Miami, and it was a pipe dream to if I could, one day I'll go back to Cleveland.
Now, one thing I did notice about the contract that he's signing with Cleveland, it's only a 2-year contract.
Yeah.
So what does that say?
You know what? I think it's interesting that he chose to have a 2-year contract, because that means his whole point in going back to Cleveland is to bring a championship to Cleveland. And it's basically he's telling us that he can do it in 2 years.
Huh.
Think about it. He signed a 2-year contract. And in his article on Sports Illustrated, he says that, I don't think we have a team right now that can win a championship. No way! ! And I think that's all bull. That's just him being PC and him learning his lesson from the decision in 2010 where he went and he said, not 5, not 6, not 7, and he boasted that they were going to win so many championships together. I think he's humbled now. I think everything he's done with his move to Miami, he's kind of learned from that, from all the backlash, from being the bad guy in Miami, and now I think he's back to being the favorite, the prodigal son of the
Really?
NBA.
Do you really think that? Or you think he's being strategic more than humble? I think because it's a good strategy to set expectations low when you know that you're going to be able to match or exceed them. It sounds to me like he's the kind of guy who likes to keep people guessing. He's a showman, like an entertainer on top of being an athlete.
And I think he likes the attention because no one's ever done the decision before. The decision was when he went and he had that big show on ESPN, and he loves the attention. He's shown it so many times, and I think he's going to love, after 2 years, being a free agent again. I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps on doing these 2-year deals because he's guaranteed to get max money, and he can, if a team falls apart, like Cleveland fell apart, he'll move to Miami. Miami started falling apart, he's back in Cleveland. If things don't go the way he wants, this gives him the option to keep leaving and going to other teams.
And all that keeping people guessing keeps him in the public eye and relevant. All the endorsements that can come from that.
And I don't know if it's about the endorsements in the long term, because why wouldn't you want LeBron to endorse your product? He's a great spokesperson. He's a great guy off the court, and he's smart about all his moves.
Oh, I was just thinking that in addition to the benefits that will come to his athletic career, just the demand that there will be for him as an endorsements, product endorsement, just from being so relevant and in the public eye. What other athlete has this type of sway and influence and appeal? I'm not even that into basketball, but I know about LeBron James and every move that he's making right now.
Huh. Yeah, and when he came out with his decision, it was a bigger story than the World Cup. It was tweeted more through every social media site. He was more popular in the World Cup. The World Cup happens every 4 years.
That's not a small feat. And the World Cup is international. Every country in the world is watching the World Cup. The NBA.
So which goes to show you, he really is the world's most marketable athlete.
Props to him. We're going to be watching, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to keep
It's going to be an interesting season coming up if just for the sole fact that LeBron is making these kinds of moves.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep an eye on him and this team, because even though people aren't saying it's quite a big three yet, he still has Kyrie Irving, and he has the most promising and highest ceiling athlete in Andrew Wiggins coming into the NBA, and David Blatt just said that he's not going to deal Wiggins for Kevin Love, and I think that's a really smart move because you don't know what the ceiling for Andrew Wiggins is going to be, and they have other pieces that could be worth Kevin Love if they combine other players together and they trade for Kevin Love. They have enough pieces to get Kevin Love, I think.
So now it seems like LeBron right now is trying not to pigeonhole himself into too long of a commitment, but the Cavaliers see this as an opportunity to strategize for the long term. Do you think that may end up hurting them?
Any team right now is happy to have LeBron. I don't think anybody's thinking long term. As soon as he comes to your team, I think you start trying to put the pieces together to get a championship, because he's proven that he can take a team to the Eastern Conference Finals by himself. He's done it in Cleveland before, and it was Miami. Every year he was there, he went to the Eastern Conference Finals. So it just shows you that if you put the right pieces around him, not only is he going to take you to the promised land, he can win the whole thing.
Well, I guess so. And things are looking up for the Cavaliers for sure right now then. But what about Miami? What are they? Do you think that they saw this coming? They had to have.
I don't think Miami saw it coming. I think Miami only found out the morning of the decision.
You think they found out the morning of the decision, same as the rest of the world?
I think the organization as a whole, yeah, but maybe not the people closest to him. I think maybe Pat Riley, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. Not even all his teammates. I think just a few teammates and the coach and Pat Riley knew about it before it happened, but everybody else found out with us.
So they must be freaking out right now. It completely changes up their whole strategy and prospects, I would imagine.
I think all they want to do at this point is they re-signed Bosh to a max contract. They're going to re-sign Wade. I think Wade is a lifelong Miami Heat player. He won them a championship basically by himself in 2006. So I think they keep that core together and they try to get one more piece. They're trying to get Luol Deng, 2 years, $20 million. I think it's paying a little bit too much for Luol Deng. but he would be a great piece. And if they just picked up Shabazz Napier from the draft. I think that was a great pickup for them because they were in the finals. They were weak on guard play, and they just build from there. As long as they're a force to be reckoned with in the East, they should be all right.
Okay. We'll see how that plays out, I guess, then. In the opposite side of the spectrum, so we had LeBron make news for his decision to move to his home team. Carmelo Anthony is staying with his team. Do you think that, what do you think his reason for that is? Because he was looking into a bunch of other options.
I thought Carmelo Anthony was going to leave because he was shopping around all these teams, and a lot of these teams seemed like better fits for him. I think the biggest issue was he wasn't going to take less money. I think that was the underlying issue the whole time. He could have gone to Chicago. I think that would have been a better fit. I think he could have gone to Houston and been a blockbuster Hollywood star, Showtime type team. Or he could have gone to LA, and I'm pretty sure LA would have put pieces around him and Kobe, and players would have come to play with them for cheap. But he didn't choose to do any of those things. He took about $130 million for a 5-year contract. He's going to be the NBA's highest paid player. And he has Phil Jackson and Derek Fisher, which I don't know if they're enough to keep me in New York because they're not going to be on the court.
It's interesting to see the different kind of motivation behind the decisions when you compare LeBron to Carmelo. LeBron, who seems to be more interested in the strategy for how to win and, make the most impact in the industry. Whereas Carmelo, you think that he's mostly driven by money, it seems.
I don't know if he's mostly driven by money, but I think Carmelo's at a point in his career where either things have to start moving for him or he's never going to win a championship. He might be one of these players that become a veteran and are like a third or fourth option eventually in their career, but it's not looking good for Carmelo because all the teams in the East are making moves to become better teams. And last year, the Knicks didn't even make the playoffs. So I don't know what's going on in Carmelo's head right now.
There's a few things happening in New York basketball right now. We had Jason Kidd made a pretty interesting decision to leave his team.
Yeah, I'm a season ticket holder for the Nets, and I was really surprised and disappointed when Jason Kidd left. It seemed like a stab in the back to me, and it was weird because there was no discussion about him being unhappy. They were one of the best teams in the East for the second half of the season. I don't know what happened. It's just all of a sudden, it was like he wanted to go. And why would you want to go to the Milwaukee Bucks? The Nets have so many pieces. They have Deron Williams, they have Brook Lopez. It doesn't make sense why he would leave. I guess he didn't like the offense they were running. He wanted more power. It just makes Jason Kidd look like a power-hungry NBA. And what is he, a general manager in Milwaukee? He could have eventually worked up to that with the Nets. So what does he save? 2 years or a year, and now he's off to another team? He doesn't have that experience, and I don't know. I think the Milwaukee Bucks might crumble because of his lack of experience as a GM. And that makes me sad because my favorite pick of this draft, Jabari Parker, is playing for the Bucks. If things work out well, I wish the best for Jabari, but I don't think it's going to be good in Milwaukee with Jason Kidd running the show.
I wonder why he would make that kind of decision, though. It is kind of strange because he's been with the Nets for so long. He played for them. He got promoted to that position. Seems like he has a really good relationship.
Right. I mean, he has a history with the Nets, a successful history with the Nets. Even when they were in Jersey, he took them to the championship. He never won a championship with them, but that's where he was able to, I think that's where he played the best years of his career, where he showcased his talents the best. It's whack that he just picked up and left. I'm glad the Nets at least got 2 second-round picks for him.
I'm just kind of confused by that, but man, it's going to be an interesting season. I'm so kind of looking forward to this round. I don't think I've ever been as invested in basketball, but all that I'm learning about what's going on from these pretty big news stories in the basketball world, it's going to make the on-court unfolding of these little stories happening with each team. Pretty cool to watch.
Yeah. Going back to our talk about New York, I'm still scared. I think New York basketball is just getting kind of stale. Because who are the new guys coming to New York other than Jarrett Jack going to the Nets? Carmelo signing this huge deal for the Knicks means that they're not going to be able to sign too many other players because of the salary cap issue. They have a brand of basketball right now where people criticize J.R. Smith for chucking up so many shots, and on top of that, Carmelo gets at least 20 shots a game. It just takes up a lot of money and it takes up a lot of ball time. So I don't know what's going to happen in New York right now. I'm really scared for New York.
How do you think that this is going to turn out in the playoffs? What are your predictions? Because we're still in preseason right now. I don't know. Is it too soon to make a good prediction?
Well, New York needs more pieces, and I think it's scary because Phil Jackson hasn't been able to make a big move yet. Since he's been here, Steve Kerr's left him. Carmelo Anthony thought twice before signing a $130 million deal, and now he's got a rookie coach who's going to be looking to him for everything that he needs.
But it'll be exciting to watch.
I don't think that... you know what? Last year they didn't make the playoffs, and with Phil Jackson, I don't know what's going to change. Are they going to make the playoffs this year? I doubt it, because there's so many other teams in the East that are improving.
Okay. Well, that's New York. But look, in the grand scheme, there's so much happening with all these other teams. We have the Rockets, the Lakers, the Mavericks. What's going on with all of them?
Well, let's not jump to the Western Conference yet. The Western Conference has been a solid conference for years. Let's keep on talking about the Eastern Conference. The Chicago Bulls just acquired Paul Gasol. They become a title contender automatically. They might need a few more pieces for offense, but defensively they might be the most sound team. They look like the Eastern Conference's version of the Spurs. So I think they're making all the right moves right now and signing Paul Gasol and keeping all the pieces that they have. They look like a really defensively sound team. I hope they don't let go of Thibodeau, and they just need to keep on pushing and hoping Derrick Rose is healthy.
So if we're looking at it just from an Eastern perspective right now, do you think that as a whole, obviously we have some teams where it's just kind of hard to figure out what's going on, especially like we were talking about with the Nets and the Knicks, with the things that are changing for them. But you think the Eastern Conference as a whole is making some good progress that'll keep it competitive with the West?
Well, the Wizards just signed Paul Pierce for really cheap, for 2 years, $11 million. And I think that was the best move because they just lost Trevor Ariza to the Rockets, to the Houston Rockets. At first when I heard Trevor Ariza was leaving to the Rockets, I was like, oh no, what happens to the Wizards? I always thought the Wizards have a great point guard in John Wall. I think he's a championship caliber point guard. He just needs a few more pieces around him. I really like Bradley Beal, and I like what they have in Gortat. I think they need maybe one more big piece, and they can make a championship run. I always liked the way they ran their offense. I think John Wall is someone who doesn't mind taking over games. So I was scared for them when they lost Trevor Ariza. But then they recouped and they got Paul Pierce for even cheaper, which is great news for them. Paul Pierce played great last year, and he helped the Nets make that run in the second half of the season. So I have high hopes for the Wizards. I think that's about it. Cleveland, Miami, the Bulls, Wizards. I don't know who else is going to be a force in the East. Another big story that I want to talk about is the Rockets. They really banked on getting Carmelo Anthony and Chris Bosh and creating another big three. And I don't know what they're going to do now. They weren't able to. They offered Bosh a max contract, and everybody thought Bosh was going to go. LeBron James left. All signs were pushing towards you get the most money in Houston. Why wouldn't you leave? This is his home state. Why wouldn't have Bosh gone to Houston? But not to mention, last year, Houston was the poorest mid-range shooting team in the NBA. And Bosh was one of the best mid-range shooters for his position. So it would have been a perfect marriage. But now Bosh chooses to stay in Miami. He gets a max contract in Miami, so he gets his money regardless. But I don't think he's ever going to be a part of a championship squad in Miami. I think it's over for Miami.
Okay, so the Heat might be cooling down for a little bit. But what about your team, the Lakers? Is it still sunny in California for them?
It's hard. It's hard being a Lakers fan right now. They are not, it's hard to say this. They're not the team of LA even anymore. The Clip have marked their territory. But the Lakers I think they're keeping their options open. I think they'll do the same thing next year and try to get another big free agent, keep their cap space open. It was hard to hear that they just acquired Jeremy Lin. I was a part of the Linsanity in New York, and that was great to watch, but he hasn't been such a force when he was with Houston, and I'm glad Houston kind of let go of him because he wasn't the best backup point guard. It was a solid point guard, but I think the Lakers acquired him more because of the Asian fan base in Los Angeles and ticket sales.
Which is what it's about at the end of the day for the owners of those teams, right?
I guess. But I don't even, Lakers are the NBA's most valuable franchise. I don't know why I don't understand the reasoning behind getting Jeremy Lin. I don't get why the Lakers picked up Jeremy Lin. Of all the players to get, I thought they would have picked up Isaiah Thomas. I think he was one of the most efficient point guards in the NBA last year. He averaged 20 points, and he's one of the smaller guards. He's like 5'9". I thought would have been a great cheap pickup, but they let him go, and Phoenix signed him. So I don't know what the Lakers are doing. They re-signed Jordan Hill and Swaggy P. So those are two pieces to pick up, and I think they're playing the waiting game, and they have Kobe for 2 more years, and maybe he'll retire after that. Maybe he won't. Well, it's looking bad for the Lakers. A lot of these free agents are getting signed up to multiple-year deals. They just lost Paul Gasol. I don't even think they gave Paul Gasol the just due he deserved when he was with the Lakers. So I'm glad he's gone to the Chicago Bulls. I think that's a great fit for him. And I wish him the best of luck as a Lakers fan.
One thing is kind of interesting that I picked up in the news is that Lamar Odom, who I think was being considered by the Lakers.
Yeah, they just waived him. And it's funny that Phil Jackson, his former coach that he played for and won a championship with, waived Lamar Odom. It's funny, but
it's kind of sad for him.
It's been a sad story for Lamar Odom for the past couple of years. I don't.
He was training with the Nets too, wasn't he?
I don't know. I don't think the Nets will pick up Lamar Odom, even though they just lost Andre Bloch. I think it's over for Lamar. I think all the bad press and
really, you think his career is just kaput now?
Yeah, I just think that kind of stuff, the bad press and then teams not being interested in you because of the off the court stuff is gonna come back to haunt him, and I think it's kind of over. I don't think he's gonna continue in the NBA.
Damn.
Before we wrap up, two things I want to tell people to watch out for is Lance Stevenson. I think he might end up with the Dallas Mavericks. A team in the Western Conference that has been looking to pick up a free agent again, and they picked up Monte Ellis last year, and they've been able to have great chemistry with him off the bat. I thought they could have beaten the Spurs in the playoffs. They turned, Monte Ellis had the same rap that Lance Stevenson did, and they were able to turn that around. So watch out for Lance Stevenson. I also wanna point out that the Thunder just got Anthony Morrow, and I think that's going to be great for the Thunder because Anthony Morrow has a career 42% shooting percentage. He shot 45% this year with the Pelicans.
So just to put that in perspective, what's like an average shooting percentage?
An average NBA player shoots anywhere from 28 to 30% from 3. So he's shooting
really ahead of the curve then.
Yeah, he's the
top
eighth
percentile.
best. He's the 8th best 3-point shooter in NBA history.
Wow, you think he's underrated?
Yeah, I don't think the casual NBA fan knows who Anthony Morrow is. But if Caron Butler shoots 44% from 3, with Westbrook and Durant distracting defenders, I think Anthony Morrow has the potential to do great things with the Thunder.
That wraps it up for this week. Thanks for listening to our first podcast. You can catch us every Sunday at 7. We'll post a new podcast each week. But in the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter at Swish This.
I'm Syed Hussein.
And I'm Kristine Hadid. We'll see you next time.
Yo, Kim, this rap shit, now you know I love game, right? It's like I got a habit, gotta keep the drug game. Why? Until we blow up with that on platinum thug fame.
Hey, yo, what you think, lame nigga? I feel the same. Cause I be outside, nigga, cocaine to me. But if it ain't about money, then it ain't about me.
Well, I ain't in poverty.
And no one's starving.